Today we're going to be learning about Pasco County, located just north of Tampa. Here in the Sunshine State, we also know Pasco County as Trashco, or the Trash Coast. Located on the north side of Tampa, this county lends itself very well for suburban growth. Despite that, most of the western side of the county hasn't changed much in decades. It's still the same old rundown Trashco County, and on today's video we're going to try to understand exactly why this is the case. Over the last 25 years, Pasco County's population has almost doubled, adding nearly 300,000 people, but most of that growth has happened in the central and eastern part of the county. Following the major routes of traffic out of Tampa, the southern tip of the county has basically become part of Tampa's urban core and a great place for people looking for a suburban life in the Tampa metro area. Having a coastline but not exactly any beaches, most of the older growth along US 19 is an area that today is highly undesirable. And while many apartment complexes and suburban communities have grown throughout other parts of the county, along the US 19 corridor or the western side of the county, things just seem to keep getting more rundown every single day. Very few newer apartment complexes or growth has taken place in this part of the county. Pasco County can be broken down into four regions. The US 19 homeless corridor, and that's what we're going to focus on in today's video. The Tampa suburbs on the southern half. You have the meth labs and mobile home madness, that's the central part of the county. And then way out by Dade City and Zephyrhills, it's just rednecks and Mexicans. Like I said, we're going to focus on the US 19 homeless corridor. This is the oldest part of the county that's urban. All this growth is along US 19. Many decades ago, this would have been a nice place to live, but today it's overwhelmingly overcrowded. Now, Pasco County's demographics are overwhelmingly white. Today, the county is 66% white, but that's because there's been a lot of Hispanic growth in the central and eastern part of the county. Here along US 19, the homeless corridor, the white population is still the largest makeup. Latinos in Pasco County have the 15th highest incomes in the state, trailing behind counties like Sarasota, Palm Beach, and Broward, much larger, more expensive counties. In fact, incomes for Latinos in Pasco County are higher than the white population. Pasco County also has the fourth highest incomes for blacks of anywhere in the state of Florida. So while the Hispanics and blacks are doing fairly well in the outskirts of Tampa, the white population here is faring badly. Now looking at these analytics, you would almost assume that Hispanics and blacks would do good moving to Pasco County. After all, the analytics for them when it comes to incomes are significantly better than other parts of the state, especially considering the cost of living. But that isn't exactly the case. You really have to make a distinction between the people that commute into Tampa for work, Hispanics and blacks, and the local population of white poor people that are neither commuting to Tampa for work nor are they paying a mortgage. These are people who inherited properties from their parents and grandparents and now live in Pasco County, Florida, making minimal wages. So you have the prosperity of people that are commuting into Tampa for work, and then you have the locals from Pasco County in the urban core that is now antiquated and well going nowhere. So a clear distinction has to be made on these analytics. These analytics that are great for African Americans and Hispanics reflect those who live in Pasco County but are really making a living in Tampa. Now, when you look at the US 19 homeless corridor, none of that growth, none of that diversity, just not much of anything has changed in this area. In fact, it continues to be an area full of homelessness, nothing more than McDonald's and Wendy's type restaurants, just absolute poverty and misery, and fairly high crime rates. You go look at the other side of the county, areas like Wesley Chapel have good restaurants, things to do, attractions, a lot of growth and development, new suburban communities. It's an elegant place to live. This area, what's known as the US 19 homeless corridor, is some other world, something untouched by Florida's growth and development. Remembering that there's no real beaches here, there's just a coastline, there really isn't much attractive about the US 19 corridor. On top of that, being adjacent to the Florida Big Bend region, it seems that every hurricane that lands in Florida, whether it makes landfall here or not, brings a massive storm surge to this coastline, which means that those properties that are adjacent to the coast are constantly being battered by storm surge flooding. Even hurricanes that don't have a massive wind damage effect on this area can bring in a significant storm surge and completely destroy coastal communities. Hurricanes making landfall far from here may still bring a significant storm surge to this area, creating adverse effects for the homes, properties, and businesses along the coastline. So despite the fact there is a coastline, you don't have the benefits of beautiful, pristine beaches. You still have one of the most costly natural disasters that could possibly happen to an area: storm surge flooding. With much of central and eastern Pasco County having abundant land, the abundance of farmland that can be redeveloped into residential area means that most people building new properties are going to have more appreciation for open land space and more acreage versus being jammed along a coastline of rotting, dilapidated buildings that constantly flood from storm surges. There really isn't a logical reason, with as much land as is available in the eastern part of the county, why somebody would want to build here in a more risky area. The utilization of these communities and the demographics of age have also varied over the years. When this area originally was built, it was kind of affordable retirement for elderly people. Back then, the population density, the size of the lots, the square footage of the homes mirrored what people wanted: affordable living in a community in Florida. However, today this area is more of a bedroom community for Clearwater, St. Pete, and Tampa, and the demographics are younger people, perhaps even living with roommates. Anytime you have older homes with smaller square footage that are tightly packed near each other, that at one time was kind of a nicer community and today is nothing more than a bedroom community, things are definitely going to decline. And in the case of the US 19 quarter, it's declined dramatically more than other parts of Florida due to the fact that the age and the square footage of the home, as well as the size of the lots, it really is tightly packed older grid patterns. And that would have worked great for the initial utilization of these communities with the demographic that lived here decades ago. But as the age and racial demographics of this area have shifted, so have the needs of the people living here, and thus the utilization of these communities has become, well, kind of a very rundown bedroom community. If you live in the Fort Myers or Naples area, you may know the example of San Carlos Park, where many years ago was kind of a nicer, affordable option, but today has become a bedroom community between Naples and Fort Myers. This is kind of like the same scenario, but on a much larger scale. It's kind of like if the entire city of Fort Myers became a bedroom community for Tampa. Along with the decline in the demographics and the incomes and the utilization of this area, it also feels like a very pessimistic and heavy vibe here. We were here driving around at night doing food delivery on a Saturday night, and a lot of the people that I ran into seemed extraordinarily burnt out, angry, and almost on their last freaking fuse. While doing one of our food deliveries from a McDonald's and Wendy's along US 19, we noticed that there are homeless people fighting in the woods behind the store. We probably had about 3 people yell profanities at us just going around the city. Road rage and reckless driving is normal here, and anywhere you stop, you're going to run into people asking you for money, panhandling. In fact, just in the 5-hour period that we were in this county doing these videos and working, I had 4 people ask me for change or other things be given to them. Panhandling here gets aggravating. It seems that whether you're getting off at a gas station or walking into a restaurant or just inquiring about why are there so many cops down the road, you're always going to get the same response from people: let me hold something. Just thinking back on the fact that I was only in this county for one evening and I had 4 different panhandlers approach me should give you an idea. Just look around closely as we're driving around. Most of the people in bicycles and walking around are going to be homeless. It's known as a homeless quarter for a reason. People here are angry, and it's understandable. Again, you're in Florida, yet you don't even have beaches. This is what the coastline looks like here. It's just grassy, dirty water with yellow sand. This is one angry part of Florida. Like I said, the vibe is pessimistic and somewhat heavy. People here aren't smiling or having a good time on a Saturday night. People here are just kind of overburdened and burned the crap out. Many of the people that ended up here because their parents had properties here, properties that they inherited. And these are individuals who, well, was just kind of waiting around for the grandparents to die so they could get a free house in Florida. They never really amounted to anything or did anything with their lives. Others moved down here to help their parents or grandparents when they got older and after they passed away. They stayed in the area with no direction. Driving around this county at night is very dangerous. You can see somebody here randomly walking on the road, and we encounter that like 20 or 30 times. It's a miracle there aren't more accidents and fatalities in this county, considering how many pedestrians are just literally wandering into the roads at night. It's on our to-do list to make some videos of the nicer side of Pasco County soon. Hopefully within the next month we can get out there and show you guys the better part of the county. But I think it's appropriate to start off covering this county again, looking at the US 19 corridor, which has been kind of a hit for us on YouTube since people are so fascinated with the amount of homelessness crime that exists in this poor white community. Now, over the years, things have changed here for the better. There have been a lot of Hispanics and Haitians moving into this area, buying homes and trying to commute back into Tampa. The first time we came to Pasco County, it was probably 95 to 97% white. Today, this area is probably 15% new arrival minorities. Some Puerto Ricans, some Cubans from Miami, other Hispanics from the Tampa Bay area, they have moved in. And in that regards, the real estate market here, at least on the residential end, hasn't seen a decline, but the commercial real estate market here doesn't look too good. You'll see a lot of businesses abandoned, boarded up. Some of these commercial districts have actually become nothing more than rundown areas with rampant homelessness. Empty commercial lots soon become giant homeless camps with tons and tons of garbage, some of it biohazardous. Many of the homeless people eventually figure out a way to live inside abandoned buildings, and thus the real scope of homelessness in this area is kind of worse than you could imagine. The overdose death rates here in Pasco County are nearly twice the state average. While overdoses disproportionately affect the white population, Hispanics and blacks in Pasco County are slowly starting to tick upwards, and eventually, if this trend continues, overdoses in Pasco County will be abnormally high, not just for the white population, but for everybody else as well. Thankfully, the homicide and murder rates in this area are actually below the state average, and that's a great thing. It's not a violent area, it just has too much homelessness, too much poverty, and too much addiction. I always see questions on my YouTube channel from people that moving to Florida, find a property in this part of the state, in Newport Richey or Holiday, and they ask me, we found a really affordable property in this part of the state, wouldn't it just be a joy to move here? It's affordable. And I try to tell them, there are some really big issues with living in this part of the state. Unfortunately, many people don't hear me, and it works out in the favor of real estate agents that people are so naive. In fact, these hotels on the left are some of the few newer constructions that this area has had. Other than a few newer hotels, this area really hasn't seen much growth and development. And with the abundant volume of vacant commercial real estate that exists out here, I don't think the area is going to see it. Now, when you enter like Clearwater, for example, if you keep driving down US 19, as soon as you enter Clearwater, there's more business, there's more activity, there's a lot more great things happening in that part of US 19. Once you enter the urban core down there, things get better. But up here in suburban Pasco County, an older and forgotten area, there really isn't too much development growth to speak of. Over the last few years, Newport Richey's downtown has had some good development. They fixed the sidewalks, they put up some beautiful landscaping. They've tried to make something better of downtown Newport Richey. However, despite the fact that there great things are happening, homeless people are never too far from this area. We had started off our day at Al Anderson Park in Pinellas County, adjacent to Pasco. And even there, at a beautiful park with trails and beautiful natural areas, homeless people were sleeping in the park, pretty much living there during the daytime and then leaving at night. There was homeless people sleeping everywhere. So this area, even the parks and a few things that there are to do, are going to be oversaturated with homelessness and panhandlers. And well, when addiction is combined, it doesn't make for an attractive place to live. The young people that we met here in Pasco County just seem burnt out, not happy, and almost hesitant to smile. In the past, when we came to parks in this area, we saw the same thing, that you couldn't enjoy the parks and recreational activities out here because there's so many homeless people. And it isn't just their presence. It's the fact that they're high, they're conflictive, they're arguing, they're fighting, they're throwing stuff on the ground, they're leaving garbage behind, and you're trying to enjoy the few recreational and outdoor activities that this area has to offer, and you can't because there's homeless people fighting and screaming everywhere you go. It really is understandable why people here feel so burnt out. That right there is the western side of Pasco County. Hopefully soon we can hit up the eastern side of the county and show you what's going on there. After all, 300,000 people nearly have moved into this county of Florida over the last 25 years, and that means that there's a lot of growth and development somewhere in this county. That's our update on the US 19 homeless corridor. You know, you would think with all the new homeless laws that are coming to Florida that homelessness would improve here, but it really doesn't seem like things are getting better.